So thank you all for being here. And today we'd like to talk about resilience in autonomous driving vehicle, but from a slightly different perspective. That's a very special system called teleoperation. So before we dive in, let's introduce ourselves a little bit. So my name is Zhisheng. I'm a product security engineer at Zoox. And this work is happily joined by our colleague, Gupta, who is our director. And for those who doesn't know Zoox, so if you see some little cute vehicle driving on the street, that would be us. Just looks exactly like this. Okay, and then at the very beginning, we want to be clear that all the tests you're seeing is actually conducted in simulation or in a tightly controlled environment. And collisions only happen in a simulation environment, and these results are based on some outdated software versions. So let's get started. So to understand why we care about resilience in teleoperation, we need to talk a little bit about this special system, teleoperation. So what is it? Before I answer this question, I would like to introduce a very interesting video clip. So on the top, you're seeing the live camera feed sent from the vehicle. And on the bottom, that's the AI's view. That's how AI sees the exact same world at that moment. For example, that blue boxes is the vehicle detected by the AI surrounding it. And that little white dashed line is the trajectory the vehicle is going to take. So let's take a look what happened next. So the vehicle approached this messy intersection. You can see people walking around us, like a construction zone, construction cones everywhere, vehicles in the way, and visibility partly blocked. You might not even know what's behind the traffic cone and the other vehicles. But instead of freezing up, you can see the vehicle start to move. It drives through this intersection slowly but smoothly. And you can also see it can get around these construction cones, get around these construction zones, and then still right back into the normal traffic lane. So what's happening here? Why this is so smooth? Let me tell you the secret. The vehicle is not doing this by itself. There's a human in the loop assisting this vehicle quietly from remote. So are you saying that AI cannot drive the vehicle? Then why do we call this autonomous? Well, let's face the truth. AI is incredibly smart. He can help the vehicle navigate through some complicated situation, but they're not perfect. AI, sometimes they will hit a situation just like this massive construction room that they are just not confident enough to drive along. And that's when teleoperator or teleoperations kicks in. So how does teleoperation work? It will start by the vehicle sending a request, which almost like a student raising hand in a classroom, like ask the question, okay, here's what I'm seeing. What do you think? And then the human sitting in the operational center will respond. Okay, probably something changed or shifted ahead. Please be careful. And now the vehicle is not 100% confident. So he raises the hand again and asks, so a little bit help here, maybe some suggestion. And the human will treat this scenario like a human driver. Okay, and then he sent here some waypoint to the vehicle, say, how about let's follow in these waypoints? This might get you out of this complex situation. Okay, the vehicle follows the waypoints. That's a good point. That's actually a good choice. The vehicle following the waypoint and successfully get around this complex situation. So this process is actually the essence of teleoperation. It's a seamless conversation between AI and human, where the AI admits its uncertainty and then human provide guidance. And by the way, this is only guidance. There's no human actually driving the vehicle like a video game. There's no driving wheel. And think of the human more like a trusted advisor, and the AI all the time is in full control of the vehicle. He takes the advice, he drives it by itself. For example, he didn't strictly follow this. He can still go around this obstacle. Okay, now imagine you're sitting in a robotaxi. By the way, you can actually sit in the robotaxi like this. And now you learn that there's a human expert that's ready to assist the vehicle anytime the AI is not so sure. Will you feel like relaxed and safe? Probably you will, right? But wait a second. You're probably also thinking, how do I know or how do I trust this AI-human collaboration is actually safe? And that's the question we want to answer all the time. So to answer these questions, we validate each collaboration over and over again. Let me show you an example. So imagine we need to validate the suggested waypoint we just saw. So we need to define the test cases that will be the tough and complex situation, just like that. And then the vehicle requires the waypoint to help. And then we build the test environment to replicate that exactly or similar test cases. And then we place the vehicle inside this testing environment. And then we bring in a well-trained operator. Give the operator this teleoperation tool and ask the operator to guide the vehicle drive through this environment. And now we watch. So did the vehicle drive safely? Did it follow the suggestion and then reach the destination without any incident? Okay, if it reaches it without any collisions, nothing is wrong, then we have a pass. Of course, this is an oversimplified case for presentation only. But keep in mind, this is not a single type checkbox. This is a repeated, rigorous, and ongoing validation process we are doing every day. So now, can we sit back and we enjoy the ride? Well, if I'm you, I kind of relax, but not so fast. Are we assuming all these operations sent to the vehicle, they are benign? They are 100% risk-free? Of course not. This is a human-AI collaboration, and human can make mistakes. Even the best one they can. So let's take a look at this example. So we have, what we are looking at is the operator's interface. Again, on the top is the live camera feed, and on the bottom is the AI's view. So let's see what the operator is doing. He's trying and clicking down these waypoints. Where's my mouse? Okay. And then try to maneuver the vehicle around this park truck. It's a dark evening, and let's take a closer look what happened next. So the vehicle starts to following this waypoint, it starts to move, but it realizes, okay, this path is way too close to the worker that stands aside this truck. Okay, but luckily the vehicle can pick up this pedestrian and it stops. And the operator also realized this mistake, and then he resent the new command, and this time it safely maneuver the pedestrian and then the truck together. So this is nothing too serious, nothing too dangerous, but what if this mistake or this error is not accidental? What if somebody, they can send a malicious command on purpose to the vehicle? So what I'm going to show next, it was conducted in the fully controlled test environment. And in this case, operator is sent out some suggestive waypoint shown as this red curve to guide the vehicle off the road. So let's watch this again. The vehicle start to following these suggestive waypoints. It starts to steal and start to move, get off the road slowly. And after the front wheel get off the road, it stops because the road surface detector kicks in. Okay, this is an intentionally malicious command. The result is not collision, but definitely something unsafe. So let's to be honest, the teleoperational error, whether it's accidental, like bringing the vehicle too close to the other objects, or something like on purpose to get the vehicle off-road, they could be dangerous. So this reminds us something quite important. We must account for benign, mistake, even malintended misuses of this tool. Because safety is not just about preparing for the best under predictable conditions, we also need to prepare for the worst. And here's how things get interesting. Even for a single scenario, if we want to cover the worst case, we need to care about a lot of variations, slightly different suggestive waypoint, slightly different speed, trajectory, maneuvers of all the traffic participants on the road. So imagine we scale this up to hundreds, even thousands of scenarios the vehicle is seen every day. Can we test them all? Cover the worst cases like manually? Probably not. So the question would be, is there a scalable way to do this? So let's jump out from the autonomous driving world a little bit and jump into the software. So in the software security world, there's a powerful tool I believe most of you are already familiar that's been used for years to uncover bugs and failures in programs. It's called fuzzing. And this is the diagram to show the fuzzing framework at a very high level. So you have a fuzzer, which is an automated process that can generate new and usually unexpected input for a program. And these inputs are fed into this target system of the program. Where this happens, this monitor system is observed the behavior of the target system, looking for crashes or other failures. And here's the magic. So the result and then the behavior of the target system is going to be fed back into the fuzzer. So it can start learning how to fight even more dangerous and edge cases. So now, what if we can fuzz the autonomous driving vehicle? How about we build a system instead of crashing the code, but crashing the cars? But don't worry, we're not going to bring a car to on the strip and then crash into that. That's too dangerous. We're talking about simulations. So the fuzzer is still at the center. And right now, the target system is not a piece of software anymore. It's our entire teleoperational tool that running inside the full autonomous software stack surrounded by traffic agent in a high-fidelity simulating environment. And here is things get very exciting. So the new input is no longer a series of data anymore. It's a complete driving scenario. So maybe it's a scenario that we just saw. Is the operator trying to guide the car around this construction truck? Or maybe it's the identical scenario, but with a slightly different suggested waypoints. So let's take a close look at how we build this input. Our process begins with the gold mine. Remember that we have the millions of miles of real-world driving data that the vehicle collects every day. So how about fuzzing all these data, all these millions of miles? That would be crazy. So we start by extracting what really matters. It simplified it into, for example, where the autonomous driving vehicle was when this teleoperation command was sent. What kind of teleoperation command we sent to the vehicle? What are the speed, trajectory, maneuver of all the other agents on the road? So all these essential features, they are organized into this simplified and reproducible simulated-based scenario on the right-hand side. They are smart, but data-rich simulated snapshot of the real-world decision point. And these are the base scenario. They are the seeds of the fuzzer. Okay. Now we have the seed for the fuzzer. We also introduced something new that's called the teleoperational parameter, TV parameters here. So these are the key factors that can define how the fuzzer generates teleoperational variations. So with the teleoperation parameters, the fuzzer now can apply programmatic offset to this path. It might be able to shift this a little bit forward. It also can nudge it a little bit to the roadside. And the result will be this mutated path showing the red curve. So it's still a possible suggestion to the vehicle. It might even look safe at some time. But it's different enough to help us to reveal how the vehicle is going to react to these subtle errors. Okay, now let's take a look at this fuzzer loop step by step. We have the input, we have the scenario, we have the parameters on it. It was fed into the simulated environment. And then the vehicle in the simulated environment tries to drive through this scenario. And the monitor system is going to observe the simulation behavior. So did the vehicle drive safely, or maybe it's brushed too close to the other obstacles? But there's a near miss or even a collision. So if something interesting happened, then the fuzzer might generate some new input similar to the previous one. But if the previous one is kind of boring, it might to explore something even more aggressive, like direct the vehicle right into the other obstacles. And then the new input is sent to the simulated environment to run again, and then the loop continues. So with every loop, the fuzzer gets smarter. And eventually, it helps us to uncover those hidden malicious commands, the ones that might look harmless at the beginning, but under the right condition, they can trigger some unsafe behavior. Okay, so the framework and the idea, they're great, but what really matters are the results. So we didn't just build this framework, we ran it over these hundreds of situations we have. For example, the construction room, we talk a lot. The double parked vehicle, intersections, and from this rich base scenario, the fuzzer went to work. It automatically generated over 50,000 variants right now, or we like to call them mutants, and keep generating. And out of these mutants, we found exactly what we are hoping for, the valid collisions. So these are the rare possible high-risk moments where a teleoperational command seems to be fine until they are not. Okay, now shall we take a look at these collisions together? Okay, now case one. This is called merging from parking. It's quite straightforward. So you have a vehicle starting from the parking lot or parking spot, and then the vehicle tried to get on road by following the suggested waypoint sent by the operator. And this is that kind of a very common scenario where the AI is seeking for help, but malicious or wrong commands were sent. And the other agents, they're parked either in front of us or they're driving down on the oncoming lane. This is more like a GTA style driving. But our fuzzer tried to mutate this command. It can tweak in these waypoints by both doing that laterally or longitudinally. This can help us to test the vehicle's response to this operator suggestion. Okay, let's see the results. So the fuzzer will start with a normal command. This is actually something very similar to a well-trained operator will do. He sends a good suggested waypoint to help the vehicle get on road. Everything is fine. The vehicle is following this suggested waypoint and then reach the destination. So all good. So now the fuzzer starts to try something more aggressive. This time, instead of getting on road safely, he tried to get the vehicle right into the oncoming vehicle lane. So the vehicle started moving, but then it stopped. Because on board AI system, it realized, okay, if we follow these suggestions strictly, there will be a collision. So it's smart enough to stop the vehicle and then to move again. So no collision, that's a win. But the fuzzer didn't stop. He did something, and I was in stupid, or maybe like even more aggressive. This time he tried to get a vehicle just cut into the front parked cars. And the AI is not that kind of stupid, so he can realize this and stop and then again save. But the fuzzer didn't try once or twice. It keeps learning. After iterations of iterations learning, it finally finds a suggestion that can slip right under the radar. It looks very similar to the previous one. But this time the vehicle moves, it didn't yield, and then finally a mild collision happened. Okay, a mild collision is still a collision. So let's move on to the next case. We'll get back to this later. So in the case 2, it's called a reverse. Oh, I already spoiled this on the title. It's an intersection scenario, but you'll see, okay, the vehicle is moving away from the intersection. Again, the green box is our autonomous driving vehicle. And there's another vehicle driving behind this thing to cross the intersection. So nothing to see here. There's no interaction between these two vehicles. There should be no problem. But instead of letting the vehicle go, the fuzzer think, okay, how about let's throw in a reverse command. Let's move the vehicle back into the intersection. So the fuzzer this time, it can determine when he suggests the vehicle to move, to start reversing, and also he can suggest where he wants the vehicle to reverse into. So let's see what's the results. Even though that the AI is not asking for help, he is actually following this kind of suggested path, but after he realized there's a vehicle coming from behind, so he stopped and wait. Even if we enter the intersection earlier than the other car, still wait. After the other car crossed the intersection, the AV start to move again, reach the destination, so textbook behavior. So this is the kind of situation where the AI is not asking for help at all, but the malicious command was sent on purpose. So after iterations of learning, we see something unusual. Similar to the first cases, we are seeing the vehicle start to move and then yield because it sees the vehicle coming from behind. But differently, this time you will see, oh, it's already collided here. My animation is a little bit slower. So we can take a look again. So it waits until here, the other vehicle comes in, and right after the other vehicle, the little smart one on the right, enters the intersection, the vehicle decides to move again. So this will end up into a side collision. This is actually weird and unexpected because the AI should easily pick out this is an unsafe command and reject this. So we dig in the driving log. We also work with the AI and an engineering team to analyze the root cause. So it turns out actually this is a subtle bug sitting in the prediction module. And this bug can only be triggered under a very specific combination of timing and paths of both or multiple agents at the same time. So imagine we only test the cases manually without the fuzzer. This kind of subtle bug might sit there all the time. Okay, now go to case 3. So this is the right turn cases in the intersection. Again, the vehicle is trying to make a right turn by following the suggested waypoint. The other vehicle is trying to cross the intersection by following their own route. So everything seems normal. The fuzzer can determine how this turning angle looks like by sending different waypoints. But on top of that, the fuzzer also sends something else. So it can also send some unexpected emergency stop to bring the vehicle to stop during the turning. So this is that kind of situation where the malicious command comes in as a conflicting signal. And this will disrupt the original maneuver during the execution. So what do we get? So at the very first, everything seems to be fine. Vehicle approached the intersection following this path, turning right is smooth. But at this critical point, right before the intersection, he slammed on brake. This is a slow motion, so it looks slower than usual. And then the real car has to do a lateral avoidance to avoid this real end. Okay, so you probably already guessed what you're going to see next. So here is, after iteration of the learning, the fuzzer finally find a perfect spot to bring the vehicle to stop and stuck there. And then this time, the real end finally happened. So this is what we are talking about, resilience testing against operation. We're actually not looking for this, this is not obvious failure. We are not looking for the obvious failures. We are hunting for this kind of difficult to find edge cases that the system might get into trouble. So now we have the value collision. Remember this minor one? So what does this mean? So what? So actually each collision, even this minor one, they are extremely valuable to us because it can help us to reveal some subtle bug that can, or they might not be easily found during like manual or some kind of nominal testing. So how do we make this discovery meaningful? Again, we use this case to analyze the driving log, to analyze the root cause, and then we work with the AI and then the perception team and the planner team together to retrain the decision logic. So after we retrain the module, you can see the robot right now, it can reject the unsafe portion of this path. And then by doing a lateral avoidance, he can improve. The AI gets smarter. This is not applied to a very specific scenario. It's applied to the other similar scenario and more general scenarios. So until now, we have the full cycle. We have the fuzzer help us to identify, to uncover these difficult to find problems. Our engineer team dig in the root cause, we fix the bug, we solve the problem, and we revalidate this again to make sure this doesn't happen. At least this won't happen before we release it on the public road. So what does this all mean for the road ahead? It might mean that every time as a rider you step in a robot taxi, there should be a secure AI system that's supporting the journey quietly and safely. And this system should be challenging and hardened even against these most subtle risks. But to achieve that, the work is far away from over. So there's actually much more in the AI stack to fuzz than we just show you in the talk today. So for example, just like we fuzz the teleoperational commands, we are beginning to apply the similar logic to fuzz the planner, this is a perception module. So by injecting rare and distorted sensor inputs, we want to understand if the perception and then the downstream module, they can behave safely, even when sometimes the sensor inputs are not perfect. So here's a quick example. The system can detect this pink car, but the location is slightly off. So we want to see the boundaries or how much of the offset we can bear with to operate safely. And even when our vehicle can understand and then can perceive the world perfectly, we are still applying fuzzing to the planner module, for example, under this kind of rare and high severity situation that the vehicle accelerates and then cuts in aggressively. And this kind of situation, they are uncommon, but they have some high impact. So the fuzzing can help us to proactively stress test more like the brain of the autonomous vehicle, the decision-making logic. And we truly believe that the safety and the security of the autonomous vehicle must be able to scale. So this requires more than just nominal testing or checking if things work as expected, but it's also about actively challenging the system just like a real-world attacker will do. And as an autonomous driving vehicle become like increasing part of our daily life, this kind of proactive automated validation process is a key and necessary to earn the public trust. And that's all of my talk today. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any question I can answer.
So I'm wondering if you're using the same kind of fuzzing also to change the perceived world around you. So basically, fuzz the inputs that you get from the different nodes or the different modules in the AV. Thanks.
So the question is about, do we change the perceived world like this? I'm not sure whether this picture can answer your question, but yeah, we did. Besides, we have different things in the perception, the input of the perception and the output of the perception. So we can fuzz both. So we can fuzz how the input sensor data, they are not perfect. And we can also simulate the result that the output of the perception is not correct.
I have a follow-on question then. How do you make sure that the mutation that you have done, it's realistic with something that can happen on the street, in the street?
That's a very good question. I mean, I'm not a perception team guy, but I can answer based on my own understanding. Remember that we have millions of logs we saw every day, and among that, there will be perception errors from the real world. For example, you're seeing a vehicle from the camera feed, but the AI is not seeing that obstacle perfectly. So we use that as a reference to a simulated offset. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Now you're using fuzzing as a crashing detection tool, essentially.
Yes.
But as an autonomous driver, it might be better to use fuzzing as most safe planned route, just flip the opposite side. Instead of using fuzzer to find crashes, why don't you use fuzzer to find the most safest route to take that you could use to learn the AI with? That's also, if you have with these both sizes, then you can do coverage guided fuzzing.
Yeah.
So because this is essentially black box fuzzing, because you are only giving it an input and it's checking the output. But if you know the whole scenario, you can do a lot more with it if you just apply something from the safety side also.
Yeah, thank you. So the question is that, let me make sure I understand your question correctly. So you're asking, why do we only test about the safety one? We're not doing the reverse cases to find the best solution for scenario, right? Actually, we're doing that, but that's not in the scope of this topic. So there are a lot of nominal testing cases are also generated automatically from the framework. And from that cases, we learned how to make our AI smart enough to drive the different scenarios safely. But this is black hat, so I try to bring something more dangerous to show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think I have 10 seconds left. All right. Then thank you. Thank you all.